First order of business is to approve the minutes from the November 18th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
Second. No, were you honest? Yeah, you should.
Nor a second. Any modifications or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the minutes are officially adopted. The next, second order of business is to adopt the resolutions from the November 18th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the resolutions?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any modifications or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the resolutions are officially adopted. The board will now conduct the hearings on today's agenda. The way we work it here is that the applicant or the applicant's representative will state the reasons for the requested variance and present any material or documentation which is to be considered regarding the proposal. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the option to make any closing arguments or comments to the board. Following the public hearings this afternoon, the board may make a decision on each application heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for information that the board may request. That information will be available for the public review at the zoning office in City Hall Commons. Please, anyone coming up to talk, the first thing you do is say your name and your address. Staff will now introduce the first application.
First application is V-21-19. It's a use variance application to waive permitted uses at a property located at 2520 South Salina Street. The proposal is to establish a multifamily dwelling with 8 units. The property is owned by the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, who is also the applicant. The zoning district is residential class AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Terry Luckett with the Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street in Syracuse.
Terry, can I just interrupt for a second? The two cases today are companion pieces,
Yes.
so we should announce that one as well. So go ahead and do that.
I guess I'll take this time to announce that I will be abstaining from participating in the public hearings today. I'm Senior Vice President of the Community Preservation Corporation. We're providing the financing for this project, so I'm going to abstain.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Heather, did you want to announce that one, or?
They have to read the other one, too.
There's a companion case application. It's V-21-20, which is an area variance to waive the required side yard treatment at property at 2504 South Salina Street. The proposal is to construct a parking lot. The property is owned by the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, who is also the applicant, and the zoning district is local business class A.
The city of Syracuse foreclosed on 2520 South Salina Street and turned it over to the land bank in 2015. The property is 16,000 square feet. It's a 4-story building. It's configured with 8 4-bedroom apartments. The building is zoned residential class AA, which does not permit apartment buildings. You might remember that this board approved a use variance in the summer of 2020 for establishing a dental lab, an office, and a daycare center in the building. Our contract purchaser, Access Dental, decided that managing a large real estate project while starting a business wasn't something they really could handle at the time, so they backed out of the deal. The land bank has received a new offer from Sarah and Wilford Stevens, who are here today. They want to renovate the building in its current configuration. The offer is contingent on approval of a variance allowing the apartment use. Today we're asking the board for a use variance to allow this project to rehabilitate 8 4-bedroom apartments. We're submitting a companion area variance application for the parking lot next door. I'd like to go through the standards of proof. Number 1, reasonable return. 2520 South Salina Street has been in the land bank's inventory since 2015. Since that time, we've had 3 buyers under contract. The first 2 have fallen through. We've continued to incur carrying costs for the last 6 years. As more time passes, the risk of further deterioration and vandalism increases the odds that we'll have to demolish the building. Sarah and Wilford Stevens plan to invest $773,000 into the renovation of the building as 8 4-bedroom apartments. The property acquisition and renovation will be financed through the Community Preservation Corporation at 4.5% over 30 years. The investment yields a reasonable return of 6.45%. If the variance is not granted, the offer would fall through and the land bank would basically have 2 avenues to put the property back into productive use. We could continue to look for a developer that would convert it to a use that's permitted in RAA, or we could demolish the building. Permitted uses in RAA include single and 2-family dwellings, single and 2-family cluster developments, churches, studios, and offices of religious and educational institutions. In the last 6+ years, no buyer has come forth with a proposal to develop this building for any of these uses or a combination of these uses, and in most cases, the building just isn't suitable. The estimated cost for demolition of this 16,000 square foot masonry and reinforced concrete building is about $200,000. If the land bank was forced to demolish it, these costs could never be recovered through the sale of the vacant lot. For these reasons, we believe that without a variance, the land bank will be unable to sell the property or realize a reasonable return. Number 2, unique circumstances. This property is the only property in the immediate vicinity on South Salina Street that's zoned residential Class AA. All other properties are zoned BA. Our buyer's planned use is permitted in BA. When compared to the other residential buildings in the RAA zone behind it, this building is 8 times larger than any of those houses. Number 3, the essential character of the locality. The approval of this variance as an 8-unit apartment building will not change the essential character of the neighborhood. All other buildings on this stretch of South Salina Street are zoned BA, which allows multiple family dwellings. When rezone Syracuse takes place, or takes effect next summer, hopefully, the Salina Street facing parcels along this business corridor, including 2520, will be designated MX2, and the proposed use is allowed in MX2. This plan is consistent with both the current character of the corridor and the planned vision for the corridor under rezone Syracuse. And number 4, the hardship is not self-created. This property was abandoned by an irresponsible property owner and was seized by the city of Syracuse. The land bank is the default recipient of tax foreclosed and abandoned properties. The hardship is not self-created by the city of Syracuse, the land bank, or by any potential purchaser. That's my presentation. I have Sarah and Wilford here. I have the Community Preservation Corp. I have Caitlin Wright from the Syracuse Land Bank, and I believe not the landscape architect. So if you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
And Sarah wanted to talk.
Oh, if there's somebody who wants to continue.
Yeah, Sarah wants to continue.
Okay, please do.
Hi, how are you? I'm Sarah Stevens. This is my husband, Will. We are.
Speak closer to the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Please. You don't have to, yeah, as long as it's in front of you, yeah.
We reside at 201 Croydon Road in Syracuse. And my husband has been a lifelong resident of the city of Syracuse. He actually works currently for the city as a firefighter. And we have rehabbed quite a number of different, he did it, I just did the paperwork. So we kind of, it's funny because we laugh, we say we have like our little target area because he grew up on the south side and and then when we purchased our first home, we purchased it the next block over, which technically is the outer Comstock neighborhood. But we've purchased a number of homes from the land bank in that neighborhood. And this building has always been a building that he's wanted to purchase and rehab. He had family members that lived there kind of in the heyday when it was a beautiful apartment building. And so our desire is really to give that back to our community. The south side is plagued with a number of residential units that are not what we think that people deserve to live in. So it is our hope that we'll be able to provide large families and extended families, large size apartments that are available to them, that are completely renovated and are safe and are, a place that they can get to call home.
So, okay, I just want to make sure, we heard this a couple of years ago, or not even a couple of years ago, I gather, and it was a use variance, just to confirm with staff, it was a use variance to put an industrial use in there. But it had previously been an 8-unit apartment building. Yes.
It's lost its grandfathering. It's been vacant for more than 2 years, so it was originally built.
I know, but it
Yeah.
lost it, but that's what
That's
it's,
why they're here.
that's what it's been.
Yes. That we know of.
That we know of, okay. Other questions?
I have a question of staff. In some residential areas, a parcel can't be used just for parking. Is that not the case with this zoning?
The parcel to the property to the north? To the right is its own business class A. It can be its own parking lot, but it doesn't appear
I see.
that they,
They don't have the same zoning, the two parcels don't. Yeah, I get
that's correct. And depending on the size, it may not meet some of the requirements in order to get enough parking spaces that they are asking for. So that's why some of the variances are in that case.
Are we going to hear
Yes,
that case
we'll
separately?
need to hear it separately and vote
Separately,
on
okay.
it separately. But we just wanted you to know comprehensively, the
Yeah.
project works together and proposed as one comprehensive.
We read that.
Yeah, so
we
our
prepared.
intention is for the building that's on 2504, which is a single-family home. We're going to demolish that building, and then that is going to serve as both parking and green space for our tenants. So our intention is to have 16 parking spaces on that.
Well, we're going to hear about that after we
Okay,
deal with
sorry.
this, because it's a
Gotcha.
separate case.
Okay,
as
so
we're
then
saying.
2520, that building, we're going to keep the footprint the same. It will still be 2 residential units on each floor. It'll be the 4-bedroom apartments for each floor with living room, dining room, kitchen, and then there's 2 bathrooms. Currently, one of them is a full bath and the other one is a half bath.
In each apartment.
Yeah, with a dryer and washer hookup
Okay.
that's in that bathroom.
Other questions?
Do you know what the original configuration of the apartments in that building was? Is this the same as the original?
Almost. So originally it was 16 apartments.
Oh.
And then at some point, from what we've gathered, reading through the different abstracts, it was 16 apartments, and then someone came in and they made it the 8. And then at some point later, someone put in an application to change it again, but they didn't do it.
Right. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, no
Is
problem.
there
Thank
anybody
you.
who wishes to speak in favor of this application?
And I'm just going to pass out a letter from LaToya Allen that we received today.
Greetings, everyone. How you doing? My name is Joe Driscoll. I live at 305 Ridgewood Drive, and I'm also the 5th District Councilor on the Common Council. I don't want to be too redundant. I think a lot of the great points have been made about this project. I've known Sarah and Will for a very long time. I'm familiar with the other renovations that they've done, and they are just the type of people we'd hope to take on a project like this. They're very civic-minded. Very active in the community on a number of great things. And, I think the case that the land bank made about this, potentially being a cost to the land bank, being a detriment to the city, I just think it's a great project, and I want to speak strongly in favor. I know some of my fellow councilors have submitted letters as well in support. and just, speak highly of Sarah and Will and what their vision is. And, I think that this corridor, as we said, struggles with vacancy, and to see this get back into active use in a very positive way, creating clean, good, affordable housing for the city is a win-win in my opinion. So just want to say in the strongest terms, I support this, and hope you guys will consider the variance, because it'd be great to see this project go forward. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the application?
Good afternoon. My name is David Breed. I'm a neighborhood mortgage officer with the Community Preservation Corporation. The address is 315 North Clinton Street, Syracuse, New York.
Excuse me, could you take your mask off?
Yeah,
And tell me again where you're from?
David Breed from the Community Preservation Corporation at 315 North Clinton Street,
Gotcha.
Syracuse.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here to speak in favor of the project. This is a long vacant apartment building located at 2520 South Salina Street. It's been a point of interest in the community for many years, due to it being passed through several hands with no one developing it with a reasonable plan. Will and Sarah came to CPC with a realistic renovation plan to bring the property back to what it once was. The building will have 8 4-bedroom units, as others have stated, as well as additional tenant parking lot next door, which I feel will be essential to the viability of the building as a residential family use. Although 4-bedroom units are rare in the multifamily rental housing stock, there's a real need within the city for larger family housing. I'm happy to be part of the renovation and the financing of this project, and thank you for your time today. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the application?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Rojas, an architect with In Architects located at 239 East Water Street. We're actually the submitting architect for this project, working with Sarah and Will. I was late to this meeting, so if a lot of this was covered, I apologize, but obviously speaking in favor of this project, a little bit more about the exterior work, that there is no modifications to what's going to be happening to the exterior of this project. A lot of the extent of the work of the exterior is really replacing what is currently there in kind, in terms of window and any exterior finishes, doors, things like that. There's a lot of repointing, rework of some of the masonry and the cornice that currently exists. There is some deterioration there and some roof repair work. So a lot of that, all the work that's happening on the exterior of this building will be just to replace it and make sure it's all functioning correctly. But at this point, there is no, we're approaching it not necessarily needing any exterior ramps or anything to create any additional accessibility that would impact the exterior conditions of the building at this point. So it's currently not accessible, and the extent of the accessibility becomes very difficult to be achieved in the grand scheme of the scope of this project. So once we enter the submission with the building department, we'll address those issues and address the accessibility issues. But we feel that we have a pathway to proceeding as is.
So you can accomplish, you think?
There's a lot of difficulty with the existing structure to be able to have, not only is accessibility into the structure easier to go from the outside in, but once you're in the stairways, you're basically coming in the middle of a landing to where you're coming half up and half down. So to be able to create vertical accessibility becomes a bit difficult.
There's no elevator.
There's no current elevator. It's just 2 stairways, one from the back and one from the front.
And you don't plan an elevator?
As of right now, we do not. The expense that would incur is above and beyond, the repair work that's necessary, and that's the path we're intending to take, and not requiring it by code. But so that's our plan moving forward at this point.
What about making the apartments on the first floor accessible?
The first floor is actually a subfloor, so you're coming in intermediate level. So you're landing, you're going down half a flight or up half a flight to be able to get access to the units as it stands today. So you're not at an accessible floor when you enter.
And that couldn't be ramped?
The length of the ramps that are required are too massive for the amount of space you have on the interior.
Will there be an effort to, for windows and doors, for instance, to replicate what the building originally looked like?
Yes, so the intent is to try and match, you know, the windows that currently, if they're double hung windows today, they will be replaced with double hung windows. Most of the openings are 2 double hungs with a center post that will remain as well. So we're replacing, the same with the door entry. There are side lights and an overhead, you know, transom window to the main doors. So we're intending to replace everything in kind.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
One more time, is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there any, oh, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I hope this is working because I don't hear you.
We can hear you fine.
My name is Richard Pachowski, Executive Director of Syracuse United Neighbors, 1540 South Salina Street, corner of West Kennedy and Salina, a community organization of 40-plus years, active in the issues of substandard housing, anti-crime initiatives, and the lack of services from City Hall. This would give the owners, Sarah and Wilfred Stevens, of this 8-unit, 4-story building permission to be allowed in a residential Class A per Part B, Section 1, Article 4, and to demolish a small 1-unit building at 1504 South Salina to put in a 16-car on-site parking lot next door. This building has been vacant for more than 7 years. Windows and doors boarded up, along with graffiti on the building exterior. This is a multi-issue, year-long, multi-year eyesore to the properties on South Salina Street. It's great that the Stevens will spend more than $800,000 to improve the business district with buildings like the Fire Station 8, Duncan Bright, and the Reformed Presbyterian Church. Thank you.
Is there anybody here who wishes to speak against the application? Hearing none, we'll go on to the next case.
Should I just go?
Yeah.
Terry Luckett with the Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street in Syracuse. 2504 South Salina Street will be used for accessory parking to the apartment building we just spoke about. The apartment building is in RAA and the parking lot is in local business Class A. As you can see from the site plan in your packet, the accessory parking straddles both lots. We're proposing a 6-foot-high privacy fence around the outer perimeter of the parking lot, but we're requesting a waiver of the requirement for screening between the building and the parking lot. We're not proposing to merge the 2 parcels at this time because they're in 2 different zoning districts and it's not allowed. If they were merged, the screening requirement between the parking lot and the building would be waived. I'd like to go through the standards of proof. Whether the requested variance is substantial. This request is not substantial. The intent of the screening requirements of the ordinance is to protect residential uses adjacent to commercial uses. This site design achieves that objective. Number 2, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood. The proposed site design provides required screening between parking and the adjacent residential uses and fulfills the goals of the zoning ordinance, Allowing the variance and the subsequent sale of the property will improve the neighborhood by facilitating the redevelopment of this blighted and abandoned building. Number 3, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method which will be feasible for the applicant to pursue but would not require a variance. Approval of this variance will allow the property owner to provide 2 parking spaces for each of the 8 dwelling units. These 4-bedroom apartments will accommodate large families that typically have 2 cars. If a fence was required along this stretch of the property line between the 2 parcels, 8 spaces would be lost and the aesthetics of the site would be compromised. The project landscape architects attempted several scenarios and have determined that there is no other feasible parking lot design that will accommodate the 16 spaces, retain play space for the children that live there, and minimize the amount of asphalt that's on the site. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environment or conditions of the neighborhood. The site doesn't contain any sensitive environmental resources or protected plants or animals. It's not located in the 100-year floodplain. And whether the difficulty is self-created. The land bank has tried for many years to find a buyer willing and able to develop this site. This hardship is not self-created since the site conditions were inherited from the previous owners, and the land bank is the default recipient of abandoned and tax foreclosed properties. We believe that waiving the screening requirements between the 2 parcels is preferable to further reduction in space available for on-site parking. That's all.
Is the house on 04 vacant?
It's vacant, it's going to be demolished.
Okay, and that's another piece that your organization ended up with?
Yes.
Yeah.
This 2520 has no parking at all, right? No. Okay.
There's a little bit of space around the back, but
You can get up and talk, you're all signed in.
When the site designer had looked at the behind the building as a potential place, because there's a home behind it, and I don't know all the technicals, but I guess there's a certain number of feet that has to be away from the property line, and it wouldn't afford a car to pull in and then be able to pull out safely.
Is there street parking?
On Warren Street, there is street parking, yes, not in South Salina.
So the requirement's 8, and you have 16 parking spaces.
Correct.
Can you say why?
Well, our thought process was that because they are for larger families, that they tend, or potentially multi-generational families, that there would potentially be more than 1 vehicle per home. So we wanted to be able to accommodate the parking spaces of the tenants without negatively impacting the other neighbors by putting, 8 or 16 or whatever vehicles on the street.
Will the lot be restricted just to the people who live in the apartment?
Yes.
How?
How? Security?
Well, yes, we plan to have security at the building. I would offer as a firefighter, there is no parking for this building. If you park down Warren Street, if 1 car parked on the side, a fire truck is not getting by because it's just a narrow street. I'm personally a driver of Engine 2 on the north side. I've looked at this building for so many years. To give you some background, and my grandmother, Ruthie Bush, my father's mother, lived in the building, in apartment 2B. It's been a desire of mine to bring the building back and the neighborhood back to its former standing. That's partly what I've been doing all along. I've been rehabbing houses, selling them to low income people so they can have their first homes. I'm looking to do the same thing for this building. Now, the building next door to it, and I wish we did some pictures on it, but the building sits back maybe about 60 or 70 feet off of the road. It's not conventional where it sits up on the road. It sits way back, and it's actually a huge lot. I think it's real convenient for 16 spaces and green space. That parcel goes farther back than 2520. So my future is down the road to actually put maybe a playground back there because it's huge. You know, but I want to do these things in steps, you know. But my plan is to bring the building back to its former glory. You know, it's been a blight in the neighborhood. It's been vacant. I don't know offhand, but I would say 25 plus years. I've gone past this house millions of times. I grew up at 518 East Colvin Street, which is right up the hill. Our first house we bought was on Moore Ave, which is the next street up from where I grew up from. I lived there for 16 years, and all the houses I've bought been in this neighborhood. So I'm just looking to do what I've always been doing, giving people a chance to have something nice. You know, this is just my passion. And
Back to the parking lot. Did you say you will have security there specifically for the parking? Or
well,
for the?
we're looking at possibly just putting security there for the building itself. We were doing 16 spaces, as you know, my wife mentioned. We figured, you know, at the very least, each apartment may have or may not have a vehicle, and if they ever had company, there had to be space for their company. To say that no one else would ever park there, I'm hoping not, but I can't guarantee it. But we're also looking to, you know, like we said, as far as having security or something on the premises.
Would you ever rent spots out to people who aren't in the apartment building?
Yes,
You might do that.
yes.
Is that within the code? Are you allowed to do that? Heather or?
Well, then, if it's a business class A, then that would be functioning as a commercial parking lot, is what you're suggesting.
I see,
Which would
okay.
be, that would be,
So it could be revenue generating in addition to a convenience for the people in the apartment.
He asked if you were gonna rent out the spaces. You said yes.
Oh, no.
I was
I
like-
didn't
Oh, you didn't understand the question?
No,
Yeah.
I misunderstood the
There's no
question.
renting
No,
out
there's no
apartments.
renting
There's no renting
parking
out
spaces. No,
The
that
spaces are
that
there
would
for
never
our
happen. I
tenants
misunderstood
and
what
for
you
their
said.
guests. So,
What far enough along would they be assigned spaces?
Yes, they definitely will.
yeah, they're gonna be assigned spaces.
You said
for each-
possibly visitors, so that's a
Yeah.
hard call as to who's a visitor and who isn't and all
So
that.
each apartment building is gonna have their own 2 spaces that are numbered, and so if they choose to have either their own vehicle or their, you know, guest visitor vehicle, like those are their 2 spaces, they can do with them how they want.
Great. Other questions?
There are some big trees between the parking lot and the building. Are those going to be taken out?
There's
Yes,
some
but
of them.
there's 2 trees that actually sit further back than where so we actually talked about it because they're huge trees. So I personally think that they should come down at some point. I'm not sure if we have to do it right away, but that's something we look
They don't
at.
have to be removed to put in the parking lot?
No, they didn't. Nope.
Okay. They must be close to the building.
Yes, they sit almost evenly between the 2 properties, but they sit far enough back where the parking space would actually be that wouldn't hamper it. But if you know, just for safety down the road, you know, I don't know how well the trees are. We'll have to have an arborist look at them to see if, you know, keeping them is a viable option.
Ed Keplinger's our site engineer, so I think he has it all kind of planned out. I think it's getting cleared up until the back point where the greenery's staying, but where the parking is over for the building for people to access, I think is all cleared. And I don't
Yes.
think there's a huge amount of large trees. I think it's a lot of overgrowth.
Yeah, it's 2 trees to the left of it, but they kind of sit.
They're back though, I think
They
he's
sit
got
further
those,
back.
What will somebody walking by on the sidewalk see? Will they see the parking lot? Is it going to be screened from the sidewalk?
I don't have a site plan for me. I think he's got some landscaping around it, but I do.
Yeah,
think
there's
you'll
landscaping
see
about,
it.
but you would see it from the Salina Street side. You know, right now, this building has been sitting there vacant, I would say 20 plus years too.
The site
easily.
design is very similar to what was approved for the access into lab. Not much of it's changed, except that the spaces are considerably less.
So the next door, the parcel that will have most of the parking lot, are there buildings at the back of that now? It looks
Just
like.
the one single-family home, and it sits back from the road, yes.
And how is that accessed then?
There's a curb cut.
Is it from
On
South Salina
Salina
Street?
Salina Street.
Yep.
So they'll drive by your parking lot to get there?
No, they'll go, the 2504 is right on the, do we determine it's north of the building? I don't know. If you're looking at the building, it's on the right-hand side, so they're gonna pull into that, and then they'll be able to, the existing front and back door on 2520 will be used as their spaces, so they'll just walk right there. There'll be a sidewalk there for them to access.
Okay.
You're talking about the building that's gonna be demolished. You're asking if there's a building that's gonna remain.
At the very back of that lot.
If there's a building.
Give us your name and address, please.
Don't worry,
I'm sorry, Caitlin Wright with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street, Syracuse, New York. On the back side of the block, there are homes facing the other street, but the home facing Salina is going to come down. So there's nobody else that has to pass around this to get to their home.
So this lot that mostly has the parking lot goes all the way through to the other street?
No, it does not.
It doesn't. It looks like there's the outline of a building at the very back there on the plan you gave us, on page 75 of our packet.
Can I take a look at one of your site plans? I'm sorry.
Take a look at mine.
Mike, if you look at page 85, that's the site plan.
Anything else, Mike?
85. So at the back behind the parking lot is where the play area eventually might be?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Anybody wish to speak in favor of the application? You said you're the architect, right? So you're actually part of the team, so
Yes.
so you're talking
Yes.
with them as
the
opposed
team.
to...
I just wanted to, clarify or add one additional kind of note or thought behind the screening requirements between the two parcels. In terms of security and being able to visibly have eyes between the residents and their parking kind of area, just for security purposes, having a denser or a screened wall between the two parcels gives opportunity for vandalism or theft or things to occur within the parking area that residents would then have more difficulty in seeing happen than if that screening requirement was not there. So that was just an additional point that I'd like to make, in the case of not, requiring that.
Can you tell us, will there be screening from the sidewalk looking into the parking area?
I believe the landscape architect intends to screen, to have,
Plantings?
excuse me?
Plantings?
Plantings, yeah, along the front side, but I would refer to the drawings that were submitted. I believe he did, though.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak in favor? Anybody want to speak against? Hearing none, we're going to move on from these cases and go to new business, 1027, V1745, 1027, 1029 East Genesee Street. It's a project it seems like it's being, in 2017, 2018, and 2021, they asked for an extension, and now they're asking for one for a year and a couple of weeks from now. Anything else you want to explain on that, Heather, or anything?
No.
So,
Anyone here to speak?
is there anybody here to speak on that? No. Anybody have any questions or comments from the board?
It's been a while. I wonder if they're actually going to someday build this.
It's being requested to allow for needed additional time to complete the real estate transaction and agreements necessary. It sounds like it's been delayed for many years.
When did we make the approval, Regent?
17?
18?
17?
2017, the first bullet.
You're not on the right case, you're not looking at the
November
right case.
22nd, 2017.
This one.
Is this the former, like, nursing home, or what?
1027, 1029 East Genesee Street. I don't think so.
No, I don't know what it is, but this is a brand-new building. The proposal is brand new.
It's a brand new building they're gonna build.
Yeah.
Is it a lot, a vacant lot now?
I don't know, but at the time, it was to demolish one of two existing buildings in order to construct.
Dick, the only thing I can think of is, I mean, years and years ago, we approved the dam with the queue for the waters. That was that was some kind of nursing home.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Years ago,
It's not-
their project's been open for years.
Okay.
I'm not gonna put the name right.
Science Church, right? Is that right? The next to it?
No, I think this is next to Copper Beach.
Oh, so it's down there. It's down. So we don't even know.
Well, the thing is, we've given them extension twice. I think we should ask to have them come talk to us before we do it again.
Okay. You want to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we hold this over till the next meeting in the hopes that somebody will come talk to us about why an extension is needed.
Yeah, what's going on? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and any discussion on it? I'll call the question. All those in favor of putting this to the next meeting and trying to get the applicants in, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, we have another new business, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. The one I was mistakenly looking at. 105.
Excuse me? Oh, it's the old Ronald McDonald House. That doesn't change. You still want to speak to them, right? Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, I'm
Gotcha. V 1830, 301, 303 Loomis Avenue, another situation. We approved in December of 2018, two-family dwelling related to Proposal 3 completed no later than 2019. We gave an extension in 2020. We approved the extension a month and a half ago.
Twice again.
And the property was sold, okay, and now there's a new owner. There's a 12-month extension December to complete the renovations. What do you think, Mike?
I'll let somebody else make a motion on this if they want to.
Okay.
The former land bank property? Do you guys, do you know
Yeah,
what's
you can
going on with it?
Yeah, if I may, Caitlin Wright, Greater Syracuse Land Bank, 431 East Fayette Street. We proactively applied for a use variance on this, knowing that whoever we sold it to would need one, and then it took us much longer than expected to sell it. So they purchased this from us just under a year ago, and they're diligently working on the renovations. It's, I would say the delay is no fault of theirs, it's just that it took us longer to sell the property than we expected it would.
Currently under construction?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension.
Second?
I'll second.
Ever.
Okay, any discussion?
No, I mean, it's in, Caitlin gave a great explanation, sensible, and it's under construction, so that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
sounds good. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, no abstentions. Okay, we'll move on to our cases for the day, 21 19, 2520 South Salina Street. This was to establish the 8-unit apartment house. Is there a motion?
As noted, I'm going to abstain from voting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'm gonna have to go to the standard, aren't I?
Okay, we have a second. Mike Stanton.
Okay, this is a use variance, which is, requires that we agree on all of the standards. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable return, provided the lack of return is substantial as demonstrated. I think they've made a very good case. The building has been vacant for many years, and this is an opportunity to put it back in productive use. The alleged hardship relating to the property in question is unique. It is a pretty unique building along that street. I think we've all driven by it for many years, hoping something good would happen with it, and it sounds like this is a possibility for that to happen. The requested use variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It's definitely going to be an improvement for that neighborhood. The alleged hardship has not been self-created. This is a difficult project. They've undertaken it. The difficulty is not self-created. It was there before they even came to the building. Oh, this is,
Use variance, yes.
yes, so this is a negative declaration for seeker.
Anything else? I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to restore something that's been going anywhere. I think it's great that you do this where your grandparents live too. I think that's fantastic.
It's a substantial building. It's has great potential.
Now, again, this should all be done in a year from now, this project will be completed. Is that true, or is that overestimating?
We closed the hearing. Okay, well, let's put it in, how long?
We put in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Just to be safe.
Right.
I don't think I'm gonna have to take 2 years, but we
Yeah.
put in 2 years to be safe, but
Good.
yes.
Yeah. Let me give Dave a minute. Thank you. Okay, we have the motion to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention.
Abstain.
Abstention. Next, V2129 is for the parking, 20, V2120, for the parking lot, area variance, for waiver required sidewalk treatment. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Now I have to find the standards.
57.
7. I should have them memorized by now, but just to be sure. Here we go. Will there be a change to the neighborhood character? Yes, it will be a positive change. Are there alternative solutions available so that a variance is not needed? I think the eyes on the parking lot is a good justification to allow a view from the building into the parking lot so that somebody is, at least on that side of the building, able to keep an eye on the parking lot. What's the magnitude of the variance being requested? It is not great. The issue of shielding the view between the two buildings is not a large variance. Will there be an adverse effect on the surrounding neighborhood? I don't think it's going to be noticed beyond these two parcels, let's say. Is this a self-created difficulty? It is not.
Anything else?
I would agree, and I also would think it's highly unlikely anybody would buy that as a one-family house and move in there. So this is probably the best alternative for that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly be voting in favor. I would urge the applicants to think long and hard and come up with a very good plan, cover all the angles on the parking lot. You don't want it to become a hangout for people fighting about parking spaces and things like that. But with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mentions?
Abstain.
Authorizations for January 6th. There's one case.
So moved.
No second.
right?
Well, if they show up, yeah.
Not a hearing.
Not a hearing, it's a new business, and I'm sure. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, before a motion to adjourn, happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Let's have a good and healthy 2022. Is there a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.